All right, so here are the substances. Take a close look at this powder. That is your cornstarch in the first 3 rows right here. Look how it's kind of clumpy and floury looking. The B's, that is your baking soda. You know, it's almost kind of grainy and not as powdery looking. And then you have the baking powder, which looks kind of powdery and clumpy, kind of like the cornstarch. Over here, we're looking at the physical properties of this right here is the crime scene, and this is the shoe. We're trying to figure out, does the shoe match the crime scene? And you can kind of sort of see already that, it's kind of doubtful, but you know what? It was stuck to the shoe, so maybe it changed when we added some water. So let's, the first experiment, it says, so you just did a physical description of what they each look like. And then now what you're gonna do is you're gonna add water to all the first row. This is kind of hard to do, but when I put the water in here, notice what happens when you put the water into the powder. Okay, I'm gonna put some water in here. Notice that just pretty much gets absorbed pretty easy. First one, the water kind of clumped. I'm gonna put some water into this one. And, oh look, it's kind of fizzing a little bit. All right. And I'm gonna put some into the crime scene. And I'm gonna put some into the shoe. So make your observations on what you just saw. Okay. All right, the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a drop of vinegar to each one to see how that looks. So let me get some vinegar going on here. And here we go. So on the second well, drop some vinegar into this one. And really not much happening there. Drop some vinegar into that one. And you can definitely see a bunch of bubbles form. Dump some vinegar into that one. Bubbles, but not really as violent, but definitely some bubbles. So I'll put it into the crime scene. Very violent. And then I put it into the shoe. Bubbles, but not quite the same reaction. The last thing to do is to check for starch. When you put iodine on starch, it turns black. Now iodine is naturally, let's see if I can get a color check here. Iodine naturally looks a little yellowish brown. But when I put it on something that has starch in it, it turns black. So we're looking to see if it stays brown or turn black. Just put one drop on there. Okay, apparently. Okay, this is the cornstarch. You see it definitely turns black in color. And then I put it onto the baking soda and it stays brown. It didn't change colors. And I put it on the baking powder and it turns black. And so now we match this up with the crime scene and we put it on the crime scene. It doesn't change color. But on the shoe, it turns black. So based on what we're looking at there, is the crime scene matching the shoe or not? So once again, let's take a look at this. This was the cornstarch, this was the baking soda, this was the baking powder, this was the crime scene, this was the shoe. Okay, what do you think the crime scene was? What do you think the shoe was? And do they match? And that's what you need to know for the rest of the lab.